All right, welcome back to First and Mad right here at Mad Maddie's Bar and Grill and Casino. Brad Michaels here with you. I got Floody here with us today, and Jay is MIA, and that doesn't mean Miami. So, speaking of MIA and Miami, that would have been the Dolphins last week.
I wouldn't mind being there right now. Yeah, the Dolphins looked kind of tough last week, man.
Well, the biggest thing was losing to a.
Yeah, well, we talked about that, and we said it's, it might be career-ending, man. Now he's on the IR. He's done
and I think that was the smart thing to do.
Absolutely. As a player, you're going to want to get back out on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to take the man's health in consideration. And this is his fourth one.
The fourth diagnosed, probably five.
He had one over in Alabama his last year.
And he had one his senior year in Alabama.
I hate that because I like the guy.
And he was just coming back from the one at Alabama when he blew out a hip.
Right. So he's had some bad luck. I mean, he just signed that nice contract, but I like the guy. I think he's a good kid, and I don't think he gets in any kind of trouble down there. No. The players like him. It's just, the noggin. Hey, sorry to see it, man. It's really a bummer.
We were all excited. He got through a complete 18-game season last year with no injuries, a few minor bumps and bruises. Didn't bang his head this year.
Made the playoffs.
Made the playoffs.
I know it was a tough place to play. You got beat by the defending champs, but you know what? I mean, it was looking bright. It really was. They signed him to the contract, played the whole season. You had some more pieces coming in for the puzzle and everything else. Then all of a sudden you get it with the injury bug with the offensive line, which makes it more difficult for a quarterback when your offensive line isn't there.
Yeah.
And then, boom, he gets the injury. And even though I said that he brought it upon himself, you sit there and go, dude, why didn't you just slide feet first? Feet first. He still would have the first down.
Back and hit you again, no matter how much the coaches tell you, slide.
Just noggin. I mean, I just feel so bad for the guy. But now who's next up, though? That's usually
Skylar Thompson, number 19, out of Kansas State.
Well, good luck, Skylar. Hey, you made it to the big show.
He beat out Mike White after Mike White beat him out last year.
Yeah. So you got two guys that know your system and everything else, but if you ever think about bringing back Dan Marino, he'd do better than the two of them put together.
I would do better right now. There's, and that's the thing that really gets me is all the stupid talk out there. And I know it's set up for clickbait on the internet. It's to get people to click onto their site so they get that advertising revenue. But stop with the stupid trade rumors. There was a rumor today. Now, actually, there's one rumor today. It was Chase Daniels.
Okay.
He was saying that the Dolphins and the Rams should both send a pick to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers would send Bryce Young to the Rams, and the Rams would send Matthew Stafford to the Dolphins.
Wow, that's a little shuffle going on over there. I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening either, but that was probably the best trade scenario that I saw out there. That came from a former quarterback and former player in the National Football League, Chase Daniels. So, Chase, just stay in the booth. You're not a GM.
There you go.
All right. So the Dolphins they lost that game 31-10 to the Bills last week at home in Miami. Raiders shocked the Ravens 26-23. We'll talk about that a little bit more coming up. We'll get through the rest of the scores. Chargers, man, hot 2-0 start with Jim Harbaugh, 26-3 over the Panthers. The Saints pasting the Cowboys 44-19 in Dallas. The Lions losing at home to the Buccaneers 20-16. The Colts lose to the Packers at Green Bay 16-10. Jaguars 0-2. They lose to the Browns 18-13 in Jacksonville. The Vikings take care of business at home against the San Francisco 49ers. That's why Mr. J's not here tonight.
Very well be Mr. MIA.
His team, MIA, got beat bad. They weren't even in that game. It was 23-17. Score was a lot closer than the actual game was. All right, then the Seahawks. Sorry, you guys had a chance in that game. You were winning all the way up till the end when they kicked that.
The one going on behind us tonight, but
tonight is a massacre.
It's 14-3. New England gets a touchdown there right in this game, but
that's true.
And they said that the Patriots this whole year are going to be in games because of their defense. But
it's a possibility because you're going to have some growing pains with that quarterback. You don't even have.
He's not even
he's
playing.
not even playing
now.
yet.
We got Jacoby Brissett going, which is barely moving the ball down the field. It's kind of an ugly game. Two good defenses. Jets probably better than the New England D. But as you being a Dolphin fan, me a Patriot fan, and some of you Bill guys out there, we all hate the Jets.
Yeah, Jets. Yeah. Suck. All right. So speaking of the Jets, they beat the Titans. They came back in that game. The Titans had a chance in that one. I was really hoping they were going to pull that off, but the Jets came back to win that game, 24-17. The Commanders take care of business against the Giants, 21-18. The Cardinals, 41-10 on the Rams, and I was already reeling from New Orleans going in and beating the snot out of the Cowgirls.
Yeah,
because I don't like Cowboys at all. Never been a Cowboys fan. All right, Steelers beat the Broncos. The Bengals lose to the Chiefs in a game they could have won. So the Chiefs, there's a little bit of kryptonite.
Possum stuff they did last year, man. I mean,
they've done. What is this? This is 3 or 4 straight seasons they've started 0-2.
The Bengals are one of those teams that can come back from 0-2.
Yeah. And they have.
But
to the Super Bowl after starting 0-2.
Like you said, the Bengals should have beat them. They didn't. They played them tough. I think the Bengals will be all right. And I think the Chiefs are the ones that are playing the possum. They're just showing we barely sneak by here.
Kind of like they did last year.
Yeah.
And then when it got time to really start playing some ball,
they turned it
on. They turned out to be ballers.
We're going to have to see what happens with that team. I mean, they're just barely winning. They don't have much of a game this week, do they? The Chiefs are playing.
The Chiefs, I got to pull this. I got to pull everything up here in just a minute. We get through these scores. The Texans, they beat the Bears and the Eagles, and we're going to talk about that, Colette. So that's been the talk on NFL radio all week, and everybody was the blame now. If you listen to Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller, these guys tell you the truth. Okay.
Right.
And most of the guys on NFL Network, on NFL Sirius XM, these guys are former GMs, former players, former coaches. They know what they're talking about. But the fans and a lot of the media Tuesday morning and Monday night were blaming Saquon Barkley for dropping that third down pass when it shouldn't even have been a pass in the first place, especially to Saquon Barkley because he's dropped how many passes in his career?
Well, he's actually a pretty good back out of the backfield.
He's a good back out of the backfield.
But I'm not blaming just him. You know what I mean?
You got to blame that Eagles defense. Yeah. You allowed Kirk Cousins, who says he's not 100%. You allowed him and the Falcons to go down the field 70 yards.
6 straight plays, no pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't
out of 7 plays, you rushed the quarterback once.
What they call prevent defense, preventing you from winning.
That's what Shula used to say all the time. He said the prevent defense doesn't do anything except prevent you from winning.
What a joke. And boy, did that kill a lot of people in last man standing contests. And,
I'll bet.
It really did.
About as bad as all the people that got killed in the first week taking Cincinnati to win their opener.
There was 3 really good games. Cincinnati in the opener against New England killed a lot of people. The following one was the Raiders beating Baltimore.
That was huge.
And then last night's game with,
Monday night's game.
Philadelphia just wiped out the rest of the board. I mean, we had 49 people. We got, I think, 10 left.
Out of 49, we got 10 left, and we haven't even finished week 3.
We're just started week 3. Little place. I'm sure there's all these last man standing contests and survivor pools that are just getting killed with those 3 games.
Got to be. Well, let's take a look. You were mentioning who
the
Chiefs had played.
An easy game this week.
This week. Let's take a look.
And they haven't come out and showed that full steam.
I don't know. This is going to be one of those interesting games for the Chiefs because they're going up against a 1-1 Falcons team in Atlanta.
But Falcons, I don't think deserve to have won that game the other night.
No, they don't.
They had to play Monday night, and then they got to go on the road. They were in Philly. Now I believe they're on the road in KC.
No, this is in Atlanta.
This is an Atlanta advantage a little bit than to Atlanta for having the home ice advantage, as you can call it, with hockey season around the corner. I think the Chiefs are going to do just enough to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Here's the possum deal. They're going to go down there and they're going to, probably win 24-20.
Yeah, that'd be a close
like
game, and it'll look like Atlanta's in it for the whole time, and then
pretty much. And
then Mahomes
will
to
pull
Kelsey.
a little bit of old Brady magic and go down and win something.
Probably that's about what's going to happen. I got a couple of other interesting tidbits. I don't know if you saw this or not. And just back to the Eagles, I'm going to blame Vic Fangio and that Eagles defense. You didn't rush. You needed to rush. There was a minute and 46 seconds left when the Falcons got the ball and right down the field.
Right down
I mean, they even left enough time really on the clock for Philadelphia to come back and kick a field goal.
Kick a field goal was right. It was
it's crazy.
It was, if you were on Atlanta the money line, God bless you, man. You cashed a ticket.
Yeah.
But the Eagles D, and I'll blame the coach, I'll blame the whole staff on that one day. Just
you have to. And the play calling by the defensive coordinator, Vic. I think I know now why Vic's not in Miami anymore. Of course, here was the thing. That defense, Philadelphia, they should know this defense. He was there as a defensive consultant in their Super Bowl year, and they should know. They should know what to expect. Most of those guys have been there, but that defense does take a little bit of time. When you haven't run it, it takes a little bit of time to figure it out because you have to stay. Remember, I kept saying all last year, I wish the guys would just stay in their assignment lanes.
Yep.
Instead of trying to go and make plays. And when they finally realize that if they did that, the play comes to them.
Right.
That's Vic Fangio's defense. But it's also your fault, buddy, for not rushing Kirk Cousins because he's gimpy right now.
He is. I mean,
he's even admitted it. He says, I'm not 100%.
6 straight plays, you let him just go down the field with no pressure on him. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And that garbage prevent crap. And, for you stinking Jet fans, they just,
I know.
That's ugly.
We just got to actually turn around here and tell the manager in a place, yeah, turn it off now. There's no Jets fans in here. All right. I wanted to, this is an interesting bit of trivia that I heard today. And actually, I heard it on the way up here when I was getting ready to set up. So we have the Ballyhood quarterback class of 2024. Only 3 of them are starting. That would be Caleb Williams with the Bears, the number 1 overall pick. Jaden Daniels, the 2nd overall pick with the Commanders. And then the 12th pick, Bo Nix, who is starting in Denver. All right, so you ready for this one? Williams, Daniels, and Nix have thrown a combined 196 passes so far this season without a single passing TD. That is an NFL record. Most consecutive pass attempts by rookies without a TD to begin a season in NFL history.
Well, I mean, New England has one of those picks. We decided to sit them.
Yep.
When you turn around and take a look back in the past, when was it Elway and Marino? Did they come in on the same? They
came in the same year.
Yeah.
That was that quarterback class of '83.
Yeah, that was great.
When everybody was wondering why Marino was still sitting there at number 27. Ken O'Brien went before Marino. Todd Blackledge went before Marino.
Wow. They were solid quarterbacks coming out of college, and maybe they thought with Dan's knees and everything else to have him sitting there at 27 was nice. But you can see where these guys haven't caught up to the game yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
the game is so much faster now.
Oh yeah, man.
And it's back then. I mean, even Dan, as he said, the NFL was a little slower when he came into the league. It wasn't quite as because he's around it a lot still today. He says it's so much faster today than it was when I came out.
You know what kills me with that is Caleb Williams and the Bears 2-0.
No, they're 1-1.
Okay,
They lost.
Houston, excuse me.
Yeah, they lost to Houston. But you talk about Drake May. He was picked 3rd, but you're sitting him behind Brissett. The Falcons, they took Michael Penix, he's gonna learn from Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
and he's not starting. And then J.J. McCarthy, unfortunately, he was picked 10th by the Vikings, but he's not even gonna get a chance because he hurt his knee.
He's done for this
in training camp.
So.
Yeah, he's done. They're out.
Yeah. So, well, we'll see. I said out of all those, Caleb Williams would be a bust right from the get-go. And the only reason
And
why
I both agreed with that one.
and the only reason why they're anywhere in their 1-1 is because of their defense. The first week, they didn't even score an offensive touchdown. Or they couldn't punch it in whatsoever. And that Bears defense and special teams is the one that won the game for them.
Sure.
But I don't think Williams will do anything. I like Bo Nix up there, but, he's got no weapons whatsoever to help him out.
Not right now. And I don't understand, really, to me, I don't understand what is the head coach doing. What is Sean Payton?
Sean Payton, man, I thought he was a little bit of a guru in there as far as the elite head coaches.
He seemed that way. But it
maybe
seems like it was all Drew Brees.
Maybe he's getting the kids' feet wet a little bit, but I don't know who the backup is up there in Denver, but
I have no idea who the backup is.
He's got a kid right out of college and starting the game.
Yeah.
So
here's another thing that is very interesting. Let's take a look at there was 6, I believe it was 6 or either 7 teams. I had to wait for it to come back around on the ticker because I forgot to write it down before the show. But I don't think if you started the season and said in week 2 that we were going to have Miami, Baltimore, help me out here. Miami, Baltimore, Dallas. Who's these 7 teams? Dallas. Okay, so here it is. Baltimore, Dallas, Miami, San Francisco, the Rams, and Detroit all losing in week 2. And many of them at home.
Yeah. It was, like I said, it was a shocker, a surprise week. And then you look at some of those 2-0 teams, you're like, holy cannoli. And then 0-2, you're like a Cincinnati, you're like the same type of deal. This third week here will start swaying things one way or the other. Like if you see KC down there 3-0, taking that commanding already 3-0.
And you got the Chargers at 2-0, and they could very well go to 3-0
and everything else. So you start seeing the cream rising a little bit, and some of those other teams that'll struggle. I think some of the ones that you mentioned, I think Detroit will bounce back this week.
Detroit, I think, will be fine. I have some of those playoff things where you pick the whole season.
Yeah.
I've actually got Detroit only losing one more game. I can't remember which one it was, but I think they're going to go on a roll.
This was a surprise loss for them, and it's too bad. But I think you'll see San Fran bounce back, and the LA Rams are just decimated with injuries.
They're going to be that's the team that I had. A lot of people were talking about the Rams challenging in the West for the title again, and I'm like, that's not happening.
You lose those 2 wide receivers there,
Cup and
Puka. And that's tough losses right there. I mean, Stafford's got to try and find some other guys to work in there. Next guy stepping up again and use his backs and his tight ends as much as he can. But teams know that now. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? You go single coverage on the outside because you got guys that's
the only guy you got.
Yeah, and then you put a little.
And he's your number 3, actually. So
staying in that same division, Arizona.
Well, and that's
a little bit of surprise because they could have beat Buffalo the first week.
They should have.
Yeah,
they should have beat them. They had them on the ropes and they let them up.
Yeah. So I mean, this third week here will show some of the other teams. So, like I said.
Well, and this is one of the games we want to talk about in depth, and we'll come back to the Raiders because I want to come back and talk about the Raiders' win over Baltimore last week because I was sitting there watching that game, and it was such a tight, close game. It was one of those that you just knew the Raiders were in this thing, but could they pull it out against a team like Baltimore? Because Baltimore coming off that tough opening night loss against Kansas City.
Right.
And Baltimore's got to be reeling. So I feel sorry for whoever's playing Baltimore this week. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
But what do you think about this Raiders team? I've got the Raiders possibly teasing to make the playoffs towards the end of the year and just missing out.
Because there's so many teams that are going to be getting in that playoff mix, they're off to a good start. They got Carolina, who's a weaker team, but there's a wiry old vet coming. They call him the redheaded gunslinger down there in Dallas. And he's been around the league quite a bit. He actually was in Cincinnati and stuff. It's going to be their starting quarterback. So don't give the Raiders a win just quite yet. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it's Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is now starting for Carolina Panthers. And he's an old type of vet. If they give him a little bit of protection, he could give the Raiders
But
a
he's
little
not
bit
the
of
he's
fits.
not the kind of guy that's going to take a Carolina Panthers team, put them up on his shoulders, and go win a championship.
No.
They're so weak all across that
But
roster. It's
he
not even
could turn around and come here into our house here, Raiderville,
He could.
And pull out a little upset, just like the Raiders did with Baltimore. They might be looking past Carolina. They might say, "Oh well, we went in there, we beat the big bad Baltimore Ravens on their."
I don't know. I think in their coach, I think Antonio Pierce going to keep those guys focused 1 week at a time.
I hope so. He is a player's coach, and he played the game and he understands it. So hopefully, he keeps them level in here and not to look past this Carolina team. But you're going to get some teams that will look past other teams and go.
That's something we never really even talked about. I know we talked about it last season. We knew there was going to be a coaching change, obviously, and he becomes the interim coach. We all, I think, even Jay argued that Antonio Pierce had done a good enough job that for once you got to take an interim coach and let him have the real job.
I think he missed the boat the last time they did that. So, like I said, he was a player. The teammates and everybody likes him. The media around here likes him. Obviously, the owner has to like him to have kept him and give him a shot.
It's Mark's team. He makes those decisions.
Yeah,
and I think he's gotten. I can't remember was his dad still alive when they fired Jack Del Rio and put my former head coach Tony Sperano as the interim guy, because I remember everybody liked Sperano in Oakland. They loved it.
Yes.
Because he almost made the playoffs. I mean, he was a player's coach. And I've met Sperano. What a nice guy.
Right.
What a nice guy. I got some really funny stories I can tell you about him.
That was a funny, weird type of thing, because I like Del Rio too, man. Del
Rio's a defensive guy.
Yeah. Played the game and everything else. I kind of think that maybe you've never seen it before. It would have been nice. I think if the old man was still around, had a little bit of sense up there. Good old Al.
Might have put Sperano.
Dual head coaches. You know what I mean?
Possibility.
Although
they've tried that, I don't know. A lot of teams try that, and I get it. You get the assistant head coach.
Yeah.
What is that? Miami did that when Jimmy Johnson wanted to leave, and they talked him into staying one more year, because even Dan Marino went to him and said, "Coach, come on, we're this close. We're this close." So he decided he's going to stay. And that, of course, was the embarrassing 63-14 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. But at the beginning of that season, he decided he'd stay, and they made Dave Wanstead his assistant head coach,
right,
to take some of the pressure off of his plate,
right,
so he could go spend more time with his family instead of hanging around.
Who knows? It doesn't seem to work, but we're talking about Del Rio and Spags. Who knows?
And that was like, I mean, Brian Flores, he had the two-headed monster. He had two offensive coordinators. Remember, he did that co-offensive coordinator deal in 2023.
Right.
And you had one guy, Eric Studsville, I think, was upstairs in the booth, and then they had the other guy down on the field that was calling the plays in. It's like, what are you doing? This guy's calling the play down to this guy to the headset, and then this guy's repeating it to the quarterback in the helmet. Taking up way too much time.
Yeah.
So some of these crazy coaching things that you see are just.
I know Belichick tried his second last season with Patricia and a handful of different guys calling the offense coordinator, along with himself. And of course, it didn't work out.
So he had the veto power.
But
yeah. See, Flores didn't even have the veto power. I'm like, if you're not going to have the veto power, then what? I understand it. That's another coach. I thought that the Dolphins acted a little quickly. Here's the thing, with Mike McDaniel down there in Miami, you're without your quarterback this year, well, at least for the next 4 games. And then on top of that, you had almost an entirely different defense than you had last year, because you had to let guys go because of that salary cap. So now this year, we're going to find out just how good Mike McDaniel is at running the roster.
With that new look in hairdo, he's right on South Beach. I don't know, pal. I
have no idea what that is. Yeah,
South Florida sunshine.
He's having a little too much fun down there on South Beach.
We know what time that boat's coming in with the old Coke coming across the harbor.
I'm sure the wifey ain't appreciating that too much either. So let's go ahead and get into some of the games of the week this week. Anything else on the Raiders before we cover their game, their matchup this week?
Do you want to jump right in and cover them now?
Yeah, we could just cover the Raiders games this week.
a great win on the road at a very difficult team, Baltimore. The Raiders seem to they're putting up some points.
Yeah.
They seem to be able to do that. And Minshew, whatever his name is there, he's not bad.
Shave the mustache, dude.
Yeah.
Or grow a beard. That Doc Holliday mustache just ain't getting it from me.
Well, the thing is with him, we don't know what strip joint he's hanging out downtown there. He might be giving up some male services to the young ladies there with that mustache. Maybe something in the 70s there. We won't mention porno, but here's it.
You saying it's a porn stash?
Yeah, it's a porn stash. There you go. But I give the Raiders, let's see, got to win this game.
Oh, you got to win this game.
Almost a must-win for them to stay with Kansas City. And
you have to. They're at 1-1 right now. The Chargers and Chiefs
play the Chargers twice, and they got to play Kansas City twice. That could be 4 losses.
That could be 4 losses, right?
And that all of a sudden takes you sitting there at second or tied.
You're on that cusp,
and boom, all of a sudden you lose 4 games right off the bat.
Because I think it's going to take 11 wins to make the playoffs. I don't think a 10-7 team in either. Well, wait a minute. Maybe in the AFC South. You might have a 9-8 team come out of there, and in the NFC South as well.
New Orleans is doing a lot of surprising right now to me.
The points they're putting up. My God.
Former Raider, Mr.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr doing the throwing down there. So they're scoring some points down there in New Orleans, and the defense is showing up. I mean, I think they went into Dallas and shut what I thought was a pretty decent high-powered offense in Dallas, down in Dallas, and held them to like 19 and put up 44.
Yeah.
So
it was over at halftime.
I don't know if that NFC South is going to be it's going to be a cakewalk with New Orleans probably firing in there. Maybe Atlanta, but everybody's going to pound on Carolina.
Carolina's going to be
in 2-0 there. So you can't say.
Well, and there's our boy we talked about. There's Baker Mayfield.
He's hiding
missing in action.
Poor Jess. Yeah. Taking some shit tonight, Jess.
When you're not here, you take some shit.
We believed in Tampa Bay and their defense and their quarterback, and he's showing. He's actually there 2-0. And I kind of like Tampa to win this week at being 3-0.
Well, they got an easy game, too. They're playing the Broncos, and they're in Tampa.
We can say that sometimes it's an easy game, and
it is the NFL. There's no easy games in the NFL.
That's right. So wait and see what happens. But I think Tampa wins, and I think New Orleans wins for 2 more W's. Well,
let's talk about New Orleans because their game this week is at home. They're in New Orleans, but the Eagles are coming in now. I'm going to tell you something. We all watched the Eagles start out great last year. They were world beaters. Did they start at 8-0?
Something like that, yeah.
And then,
something's going on in that locker room, and something's kind of happened, and maybe one of the other guys is talked up or whatnot. But you definitely saw it with the defense. Couldn't stop anybody. They didn't put any pressure on. Maybe there's a problem with the coaching. I don't know, but that Eagle team doesn't look like any world beaters or champions.
And they haven't looked like that since about the last half of last season. So
New Orleans is not playing any games. And
New Orleans snuck up on me, though. I didn't realize that they were putting something together down here, and they're looking this good.
Either, but they're showing it. They're showing it. And if they want to stay right there with Tampa Bay, you got to beat the Eagles. And coming off a loss at home, the way they lost the Eagles, and they got to travel, so they get the short week.
Yep.
And got to go down and New Orleans can be like Vegas, baby. I'm going to New Orleans. I'm going to Vegas. I'm out to party. I don't give a shit.
And they say party town down there in the front.
You already sent me the check. Yeah. I'm in. So
I'm going to have to, based on what I've seen so far this year, though, I got to go with the Saints in that game.
Yeah.
I got to take the Saints at home. The Eagles are reeling. And if the Eagles start out 1-2, I think it's going to be a long season for them. I'm not saying they can't bounce back.
That's your division that might be,
9-8.
Dallas is losing
10-7.
Yeah.
Possibility. Let's move on to those Chargers. They get to go to Pittsburgh and face the surprisingly 2-0 Steelers.
That is The Pittsburgh D is there.
Yeah.
That's the reason, and their kicker, because the offense, whether it be Wilson or it be Fields.
I'm hearing it's going to be Justin Fields again because Russell Wilson is nursing some sort of an injury.
He's doing enough for them to win, and that defense and special teams is putting them over the hump.
Is keeping them, is keeping the other team out of it.
They might get hit with a little reality punch. It's very difficult, though, because the Chargers played on the East Coast. I don't know whether they stayed there and just went to Pittsburgh and stayed all week.
I don't know either.
Or went all the way back to L.A. and then back out.
A lot of traveling.
got them playing well. And that's a team to be reckoned with. They're gonna. I told you they were going to give the Chiefs all they want in that division. They'll be right there at the end.
They might be. I don't think it's playoffs for the Chargers this year.
Oh, wow. I do. I really do. Yes, I do. I think.
Now, here's another who would have thunk it. If at the beginning of the season I had told you that one Harbaugh brother was going to be 2-0 and the other one was going to be 0-2, who would you have thought would be the 0-2?
Probably Jim. John would be 2-0, but like I said, there might be something going on in Baltimore, and people are like they're one-man show. That's it.
It seems that way, but then you bring in a kid like Derrick Henry, and he's showing that he's still got gas in that tank. And Lamar Jackson, they're winning games, or they were leading in games. They were beating the Chiefs. That one went back and forth and back and forth. They had a chance to win that if the guy had just stayed in bounds.
I think with Baltimore, the defense has slid back to the pack a little bit.
A little bit.
They're a little on more the average side than they have been in the past, where they were always rock 'em, sock 'em, and bruise you. Come down. You were in a football game when you went to Baltimore because they pounded you, just like the Steelers do in that division and everything else. And the Browns defense and Cincinnati usually use a little more finesse. But I think when you turn around, Lamar, his legs have kept him rolling in games and surviving in games and getting them to the playoffs. But guess what? He's another year older. You got younger, faster guys in there now. He might have lost a little step. He's not using his tight end as much. The weapons on the outside now. Derrick Henry is also back there. And if you don't get him down far enough to where Henry can pound the pill in,
sure,
that big back is just kind of, hopefully he's in there for protection, but maybe Baltimore, Jim's got a fire. He won the national championship last year. He's got a good team in the Chargers.
He does, and they're running the ball. They're pounding the rock.
Yes, and I think the Chargers are definitely going to be there in the end, giving the Chiefs all they want for the division and in the playoffs.
Could be.
Have another drink.
It's definitely going to be it's going to be an interesting season to watch that team develop with Harbaugh at the controls now, because nobody else has been able to go in there, not Brandon Staley, not the guy before him. Nobody has been able to get that team moving forward. And I mean, Justin Herbert, you've got all the talent in the world with that kid. And then, of course, Harbaugh comes in and they got rid of a couple of their receivers and the running back, and they're pounding the rock like crazy right now.
Yes, they built together a real good offensive line.
And that's where it all starts. Everybody says it all starts up front.
You pound that pill and you give the protection. And when you do go to play action fake and it works, that's one of those teams that's going to, like I said, don't sleep too much on them, man. I'm telling you, I think they're a playoff team. When you got so many teams that get in there and, maybe the weaker division like Houston's actually playing out there in that AFC South. But I'm trying to think. There might only be one team from our division. Dolphins being down, Patriots.
Oh, I think this is going to be a race
between. Are really going to be lucky to maybe give the Bills a challenge, but we might only get one team out of our division.
I think it's going to be Buffalo. I said it's Buffalo's to lose.
Yeah.
And I see the Jets. I see the Jets finishing second place,
but
teasing for that 6th or 7th spot.
Might be 10-7 that wins the division. The other one
possibly
might not get in because you got a good team in the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Well, and they could end up like when the Dolphins and the Bills last year were both 11-6. and Buffalo gets the tiebreaker because of the head-to-head matchup.
Right.
So,
and then when we turn around, sometimes when we look at the, I think Pittsburgh's doing a little bit of smoke and mirrors.
it's a little bit. I didn't expect them to be 2-0.
No, I didn't think they'd be 2-0, and that's another division where, you know.
Then again, that is Mike Tomlin. I mean, I don't know what it is about Mike Tomlin.
He's got the D playing well.
He will get you to the promised land.
Yeah.
A little more often than you think he's going to get you there. Now, as far as championships, yeah. But
still, it's we say it's Buffalo's to win or lose the division, kind of Kansas City's to win or lose the AFC.
Oh, to win the entire AFC.
So
I still think
we'll see hell of a games when they play the Chargers. We'll see hell of a games because the Raiders get up and play the Chiefs pretty tough too.
Yeah.
So
all of those divisional games are always tough.
Always tough.
You beat up on your division foes more than you beat up on the other teams. And you're beating up on them too. And you get a little of that nastiness going back and forth. As you got a couple of guys on each side don't like each other, and it's just
this is the only time, folks. 2 times a year he roots for my team. We're down.
You see what happens when I root for your team. Yeah. Get that Dolphin luck rubbed off on them.
Stop the kid.
Well, we're in the third quarter. That's when it happened to Tua last week. We don't want anything to happen to Jacoby Brissett.
We don't want to see anybody hurt.
But it's that's the way it goes. It's always the divisional games. It's like when I've gambled out here and I go to the sports book. It's like you're gonna bet the Bengals in Baltimore. I'm like, nope.
No.
I won't touch divisional games
because they're so tough. And usually it's a 3-point spread.
And it's
exactly
a
little bit higher at 6, but it looks like the Jets are going to cover the spread.
Yeah,
right?
they'll cover.
But
if I guarantee you, if I'd have gone and laid money on the Jets tonight with that spread and given the points, the Patriots would be beating the snot out of them right now.
Who you betting next week? I want to go the other way. Oh, we're going to make some money, Roman.
Yeah, just go against whatever I pick. It's usually what happens. I mean, that's why I just won't play. I just won't do divisional games. I even stopped betting against my own Dolphins or for them. I won't play the Dolphins at all.
I took in a survivor pool tonight. That we pick all the games every week, so it's a type of fantasy deal. I just couldn't see myself.
You couldn't write in
This
Jets?
was the one where I turn around and my mind is right, but the heart wouldn't let me bet an old Patriot bat, old school, and I took the Patriots. They get killed.
It'll learn you, darn you.
Yeah. I mean, I went against them first week in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I know.
took them in Seattle last week, and at home against Seattle,
almost won
losing
that
OT
game.
tonight. They get waxed tonight. So
well, and I hate to see it because I mean, just being in the AFC East, my team and your team too. I think we always hated Buffalo, but you could tolerate Buffalo a little bit until Josh Allen came around.
Because they're from Canada, they're upstate.
Yeah, they're almost
the city ones. The Jets aren't even in New York
City. No,
they
play in New Jersey. So do the Giants.
Yeah.
Both teams are stupid. You play over in New Jersey. Call yourself New York. Give me a break. All right, let's move along here. Let's see. So we talked about the Chargers at the Steelers. Who do you pick to win that game this weekend? I'm going to say
I'll take
Chargers.
The Chargers.
I'm going to take the Chargers
to win that game, and they got a little bit more offensive punch to the Steelers. Their D will keep them in it. Their special teams, but I don't think Justin Fields pulling miracles out of his hat or anything else. And I think the Chargers too much. I just would like to have known whether they stayed on the East Coast or they went back and forth. But the Howard's going to play well. I think the Chargers pull one out there.
Well, we got the missing man formation here tonight. So the missing man is actually taking the Eagles this week. He's also taking the Steelers, and he's going to take the Broncos to upset the Buccaneers.
Put you in there because he's going to put you on the Ravens next.
Yes.
Oh, put you.
I got him picking Carolina over the Ravens.
Oh boy, he works here, man. Someone's going to want to stole that guy's car.
That's why I remember last year I had to wear all the different disguises because I was going against the Raiders so often.
Yes.
All right. Here's an interesting matchup. We won't talk about this too much. I just see that's the Buccaneers. They're 2-0. They got the Broncos coming into town. I think the Buccaneers will get business done.
Yes,
I
agree.
Let's see here. This is a big one. Okay, we got a couple of big ones to talk about now. And actually, we didn't have them all on the ticker, I don't think. But I want to tell you, I think this one was Lions coming off of that bitter loss to Tampa Bay we just talked about at home. Now going to go on the road and play the 1-1 surprising Cardinals.
That so it's an indoor game. It's in a dome. I think it's gonna be a shootout at the OK Corral. I really do.
The way that the way the Cardinals have been scoring points.
They're a team that's believing in themselves, just like Detroit. I think though with the loss with Detroit and the big huge win from the Cards against the Rams, which was a division rival, I think you're just going to see a really good high-scored football game where whatever team has the ball last wins that game. I think, but I think it might be Detroit, just because I think they got a little more talent over there. But you know what? Give Arizona all the credit, man.
I think I can give them a lot of the credit, and actually, you got to think about it this way too. Excuse me. Somebody was saying this is what you see early in a season when Kyler Murray is healthy, because he can give an NFL defense fits.
Yes,
but he'll
give that Detroit defense some fits.
Yeah,
they were vulnerable a little bit last week. I don't know if they were looking past the big high win of the first week of the year against San Fran. That they beat the first week. Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Beat San Fran, had a little high going on, so they maybe overlooked last week. I think that's been Campbell over there. I think he's been up there all week long. But I think it's been a great game. I think it's probably one of the best games for if you're want to see high scoring going on. I think that's it.
I think so too. I think it's definitely going to be a high scoring game. I think that I agree. I think that the Lions, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be the team with the ball last. But I think that the Lions, I got to go with Dan Campbell. I got to go with my coach.
Yeah.
And Dan Campbell, I'm telling you, Dan the man. He's got those Lions playing good. They're not going to drop 2 in a row at any point this year. I think they're just too good. And I think they're going to be able to overcome that Cardinals team and put the W in the win, put that in the win column. So here's another really good matchup for this week. Baltimore 0-2, going into play the reeling Cowboys at 1-1.
You know, this is a very difficult game. I don't like either team.
I don't either particularly. Right. I do like the Ravens more than I like the Cowboys if I'm going to rank them.
Okay. I still think I don't like either one of them. But this could be a real big turning point for one of these two ball clubs, though. Because if Baltimore goes down 0-3, they're going to want to have one hell of a time just to get to 500. Oh, yeah. I don't know what the next 3 games look like, but all of a sudden you're 0-3. I know it's crazy astronomical for an 0-2 team to make the playoffs. It's even tougher as an 0-3 team.
Yeah.
That being said, and we talked about the NFC East a little bit with Washington and the Giants and the Eagles now looking like they could go down a little bit. Almost a must-win for Dallas, though, at home, and a must-win for Baltimore.
Well, it's absolutely a must-win for Baltimore. They don't want to go 0-3, but right. Dallas has a chance. If Dallas was to win this game, they could take a little bit of command of that NFC East 3 weeks in just with 2 wins. I mean, obviously, if the Cowboys had not effed up against New Orleans at home and let them put 44 points on them, that tells you got a problem there in D with the D.
Yes, and I'm sure in Jerry's world, he was down there on all the practices, screaming and yelling and everything else. Because that was, Dallas is the country's second team. New England, of course, is red, white, and blue. And
You're talking to me.
I never heard the Dolphins being America's team.
Well, they were back in 72. No, they weren't.
They were Florida. I rooted for them because I like the song. This game here, though, it's going to be another who has the ball last. And I just think because Dallas doesn't have to travel,
They have that advantage.
Home ice advantage, home field advantage, and playing again. And they were totally embarrassed. I just think they find a way to sneak this one out and just barely beat Baltimore. And the talk will be John Harbaugh's job might be on the line.
Oh, I know. After all of this, after all of the success, yeah, they're going to be rolling out. Yeah, he's going to be on the hot seat. It's, you can have, it happens in the National Football League that you have a one-off season where you're coming off of the AFC Championship game that you hosted and lose to the Chiefs, but you still basically still the same team. Yeah, we all lose players. We all have new players come in. That's just the NFL. But Baltimore with John Harbaugh has had continued success year in and year out, and it's usually that defense. That defense has taken a little bit of a step back.
Maybe some things have caught up to him there. I mean, he's no spring chicken anymore. As you've seen some other guys like Belichick and the fellow up there in Seattle, they older coaches step down. John Harbaugh's no spring chicken. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and his method has worked, but maybe it's starting to catch up to him a little bit.
Well, and that saying that the Harbaughs have is, who's got it better than us? The nobody. Yeah, well, Jimmy does.
Yeah.
Right now, anyway. I agree. I think that this is going to be a team. Dallas's defense is better than allowing 44 points. And no matter how much you hate Dallas, that defense with Micah Parsons and that gang, they're a much better football team than what they displayed last week. I think their defense is going to show up. Baltimore still has a very, very tough defense. I think they show up. I agree with you. It's going to be a defensive game. I'm gonna say the Ravens are pissed off, and they're gonna go in there. I say Ravens 21-17.
24-21.
All right, there you have it, folks. So next game on the map for this week is going to be the San Francisco 49ers, who, okay, you lost to Minnesota. Granted, it was in Minnesota, but I didn't expect you to lose. Is that one of those just gotcha games early in the season? Is like,
I think so. With where it came, how it came, and everything else, Minnesota's an improved team. They got some talent over there. Purdy and San Fran look like crap. They are a little banged up too.
They are.
And the Rams are just more banged up.
Well, and you got to wonder. You talk about, or we've talked about this before. You got to talk about the holdouts. Okay. You had Ayuk, he was unhappy. You just signed him to an extension right before the regular season. Terrence Williams, the offensive lineman, he sat out all of training camp. Now, he's one of those guys, veteran. He knows how to keep his body in shape. He's ready to go week one. He was ready. But still, you got to wonder the effects of those types of holdouts from those types of players. What effect does that have on everybody else on that team?
I'm sure it doesn't bring a sweet, bitter taste in everybody's mouth in that locker room. I'm sure there's some guys.
It's the same thing that's going on in Cincinnati with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And those guys. T. Higgins is upset because he's playing on the tag, and Jamar Chase with 2 years left on his rookie contract. Cincinnati made the mistake of going to him and saying, let's see if we can negotiate another deal for you. So then he held out.
Yeah.
So I think that could be weighing on the 49ers a little bit.
I absolutely agree with you. And the injuries on the other side of the coin with the Rams, they're really decimated and everything else. San Fran, they both got beat last week. And I just think San Fran's a little bit healthier and a better team that'll rise a little bit and take care of business. But it's a division game, so they play each other tough. I like San Fran to bounce back this week.
I did too. I like the San Francisco 49ers in that game as well.
Yep.
We talked about the We talked about the Chiefs and the Falcons. That's going to be a good game. I think the Chiefs will take care of business there. Let's talk about the Bills. The Bills looked great against Miami. They're 2-0. They came back in week 1, barely beat Arizona. Arizona should have won that game. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? The Jacksonville Jaguars, who have to go on the road this week to Buffalo and play them. The Jaguars, another team staring 0-3 in the face. That I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I probably didn't either. But you playing 2 AFC East teams on the road. One was at your house. You guys won by a field goal. Going up into Buffalo now. They're getting lucky because it's in September, so the weather shouldn't be too bad. But who knows as far as what goes on? It might be rain. You're not going to see snow right now.
It could be raining.
But it could be rain. Buffalo getting the extra 10 days off of rest and everything else. I think some teams have talked about Buffalo. They were lucky to pull the win out the first week. They annihilated you last week. They've got the 10 days of rest. They got Jacksonville in their backyard up in Canada. I like Buffalo to win this game.
Oh, I think Buffalo takes care of business in that one. They're just too tough, and there's something entirely off. I know. Last year we talked about Jacksonville and the injury issues with Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Trevor Lawrence is now healthy, and they just don't look good.
No, they don't. I mean, I agree. And you got my old Patriot guy there, Mac Jones, which their numbers were very similar. And I heard he had a great summer camp and a great preseason and everything else. But Trevor's your man.
Well, and you gave Trevor a big giant contract too. You're not going to sit him on the bench.
No, absolutely
for Mac
not.
Jones.
So no, but the team doesn't seem to be totally cohesive and gelling and everything.
There's something strange going on in Jacksonville.
But that's one of those divisions that's so damn weak
that you could win 7 games and actually
7-10 win.
7-10 and win.
Wow.
I think some of those you might see an 8-9 team winning a division.
Houston's in that one. Yeah. 8-9.
Didn't we see a 7-9 team win a division back a few years ago? I think it was in the South, wasn't it? The NFC South.
It might have been the Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay stuck in last year at like 10-7. But wow, I mean, 8-9 getting in there. Wow, that's ugly, man. I think in that division, I think it's Houston's like Buffalo. Houston's to win or lose. They seem like a solid ball club. Where Jacksonville, you know what? You fall too far behind in Indianapolis and Tennessee.
Well, the schedule maker was not nice to them and putting Miami and Buffalo in the first 3 weeks.
They're kind of like my Patriots. They're weaker teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you get them and you look at them, you don't want to overlook them, but it should be a game you win. You guys got them early when you had to, or you got a W. It might be the only one you get all year, but
probably.
You beat an 0-17 Jacksonville team. The two out of the 3 Florida teams got 1 win in there.
It's going to be rough.
33 losses.
It's going to be rough. I already knew it was going to be rough for Miami though this year because we lost all the defensive guys. Christian Wilkins is out here, and is this the first week we've got 2 Monday night games?
Yes.
Because we got the Bills and the Jaguars. That's at 4:30 on ESPN Deportes, and then ABC and ESPN Plus at 5:15 as the Commanders at the Cincinnati Bengals. So can the Bengals get it together against the Commanders?
I think they finally do.
Yeah.
They get a win at home. Joe Burrow doesn't. Here's their quest of going 0-2 and start rolling. They'll get a win at home there. Buffalo get a win on Monday night too, and we'll see where they go from there. I don't think Commanders got anything to hang in there.
No, I don't think so either. And of course, that's one of those quarterbacks in Jaden Daniels that has yet to throw a touchdown pass.
There's another prime example. Cincinnati's D, I think, is decent enough. They'll throw him a couple of goofy packages at him. He might have a hot night on Monday night.
Oh yeah, I think so. And the Bengals, they have a good defense. That defense, a lot of people talking about, the Bengals and the Chiefs probably playing in the AFC Championship game. Of course, a lot of people talking about Baltimore being in that. I know it's early. Are we still looking at what we talked about in the first show?
I turned around and I checked Cleveland off, as you guys might have heard last week, and it might be edging a little bit towards the charge. That charge is over there, so watch out, man.
I'm still sticking with Kansas City in a Detroit Super Bowl.
Wow.
And Detroit, come on, Dan Campbell. Speaking of interim coaches that should have gotten the main job, we should have had him in Miami on Sleepy Joe Philbin. You remember him?
Oh, I remember him. Yeah, why don't you bring him back?
Bring him back? Oh, yeah.
This year.
Here was Joe Philbin on the sideline. What's going on, Joe? I know.
Snoozing and sleeping. It was horrible. Horrible.
What was that up there?
Somebody told something at the Jets TV. It's 24-3.
Yeah.
So I think that was the end of the third quarter.
Okay.
Put us out of our misery, please. Please. Let your final score be like 24-20.
I know. You'll get a bunch of sloppy scores here in the last part.
Scores a little bit, covers that spread. I don't know. 6 points.
That's all you need them to do is just cover the 6 points.
I did better. I don't know.
Anything else you want to? Anything else on your mind before we close out tonight?
I hope Jesse's all right. Our partner in crime here. Once again, another week of the NFL starting tonight, and there's a lot of good games out there. It should be very entertaining. My team has already played and losing. Your team
Thursday night's not been good for us so far.
No, neither one of us. Who do you have on your slate this week down in Miami?
We are actually traveling to Seattle Sunday afternoon.
Clear across the country. Probably the furthest trip of any two teams.
Just about, from corner to corner.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
You're in trouble.
Not getting any argument out of me with that one.
The Sea Chickens could actually be another 2-1 team, and with the Rams being down there, they got a whole base with the surprising Arizona and surprising looking with San Fran the way they looked last week. Now Seattle will be right there, maybe in the thick of things.
It's certainly been one of those an interesting season already.
Yeah,
just 2 weeks in, and now into finally one game into the third week. This game here probably not going. I expected you guys to play a little better tonight.
I did too.
You've held the Jets actually to 24 points. You should have scored at least 17 more at this point, and have made this a game. But then you guys do have the ball, right? No, you don't. I thought you had the ball.
I think there's 7 minutes left of the game.
My biggest thing though is, and it's so disappointing because I don't like the Jets, number one, and number two, I can't stand Aaron Rodgers.
That's what it is too. He's going to get the W tonight in New England. Like I said, we'll win. I thought we'd win 2 games this year. We'll get 3 because we beat you guys twice.
Yeah, I know. You get that.
Sorry.
But hey, it is what it is.
With me one night this year because we got to play.
Yeah, you got to play the Jets again.
But I root for the Dolphins the 2 nights you play the Jets. So hopefully you get 3 wins. We both get 3 wins.
Hopefully.
Oh shit, Roman! Put up
the
candles, Roman candle. Boom! I haven't had any spoiler alerts yet. None yet.
It's still 24-3.
No. This wasn't going to be a spoiler alert. This was just wishful thinking that we'd hang in there. It's kind of dismal.
It's going to be one of them rough years. All right. Well, that'll about do it. That'll wrap it up for this week's edition of First and Mad right here at Mad Maddie's, 8100 West Sahara. Floody, great show.
Pleasure, brother. I'll see you soon. Good luck with the fish.
Absolutely.
Roman, great job out there. Thank you, brother.
And we'll see you guys next week right here at Mad Maddie's.
Mood swings as such. Some would say that boy right there is touch. Do we maintain? Nah, not too much. Situation getting too hard to clutch. Yep, it feels like I fall and I can't get up. I gotta hold my head, man, I can't give give up.